If you thought the battle between DJI and Insta360 was starting to slow down, the latest leaks suggest the exact opposite. Just days after what appears to be our first proper look at the upcoming Insta360 X6, another leak has now surfaced, and this time it may reveal DJI's next-generation 360 camera, and the timing is hard to ignore. For years, Insta360 dominated the consumer 360 camera market almost uncontested. Then DJI entered the space with the Osmo 360 and immediately gave buyers a serious alternative. Now, it looks like both companies could be preparing their next major generation at almost the same time. That means the next 360 camera battle may not be about small upgrades anymore. It could become a direct fight over resolution, frame rates, durability, battery life, and one feature that could completely change how people use these cameras. So, let's take a closer look at the latest DJI Osmo 362 leak, what the images may reveal, how it could compare with the Insta360 X6, and why DJI may be preparing one of the most important upgrades to its 360 camera lineup yet. The leaked images reportedly come from well-known leaker Quadro News and appear to show DJI's next-generation 360 camera for the first time. At first glance, the camera looks extremely familiar. The overall body shape appears to follow the same design language as the current Osmo 360. The display remains positioned in a similar location, the two lenses appear to sit in the same general arrangement, and the overall proportions don't seem dramatically different. But that may actually be intentional. DJI has repeatedly shown that it doesn't always need to completely redesign a product to make it significantly better. Some of the company's biggest upgrades happen internally, while the exterior remains familiar. And according to the leaked images, one of the first major changes may already be visible on the screen. The display appears to show 8K recording at 60 frames per second. That would be a noticeable step above the current Osmo 360, which records 8K video at up to 50 frames per second. Now, going from 50 to 60 frames per second may not sound like a revolutionary upgrade, but when you're shooting fast-moving subjects, sports, travel footage, or action scenes, that extra frame rate can make a real difference. It can produce smoother motion, provide more flexibility during editing, and give creators additional options when slowing footage down. But there's also a much bigger reason this upgrade matters. The leaked Insta360 X6 specifications have also pointed toward 8K recording at 50 frames per second. So, if DJI's next camera really does support 8K 60 FPS, it could give the company a small but important advantage on the specification sheet. And in a market where two cameras are competing directly, those numbers matter. Neither company wants to release a flagship 360 camera that immediately appears weaker than its biggest competitor. But higher frame rates may not be the most interesting upgrade coming to DJI's next camera. The most exciting possibility may be hiding around the lenses. If you compare the leaked images with the current Osmo 360, the outer rings surrounding the lenses appear to look different. They seem thicker, more pronounced, and possibly built using a different structure. Now, I want to make this clear. A replaceable lens system has not been officially confirmed. This is speculation based on the leaked images, but if DJI is actually preparing replaceable lens covers, it could become one of the biggest improvements in the entire camera. Because lens damage is one of the biggest problems with 360 cameras, on a traditional action camera, the lens is usually protected by a replaceable cover or positioned behind a protective housing. But 360 cameras have a completely different problem. Both lenses need to see everything around the camera. That means they have to extend outward and remain exposed. Put the camera down on the wrong surface, and you could scratch the lens. Drop it while skiing, mountain biking, or snowboarding, and the lens could take the impact. Even a small scratch can become extremely visible in 360 footage because the camera is constantly capturing the world around it. And when a lens is damaged, the repair process can be expensive and inconvenient. A user-replaceable lens system could completely change that. Instead of sending the entire camera in for repair, users could potentially replace the damaged lens cover themselves and continue shooting. For anyone who uses a 360 camera in extreme environments, that could be more valuable than another resolution upgrade. And DJI already has experience designing products with replaceable components, so the idea isn't completely unrealistic. Of course, until DJI officially confirms the feature, we should treat it as speculation. But if the company really has solved the lens durability problem, it could give the next Osmo 360 a major advantage over its competitors. There is another area where DJI may need to make improvements: heat management. High-resolution 8K video requires a huge amount of processing power. When you increase the frame rate to 60 frames per second, the processing demands become even higher. That means heat becomes a serious concern. Long recording sessions, direct sunlight, hot weather, and high-resolution video can quickly push a small camera to its limits. So if DJI is adding a faster processor to support 8K 60 frames per second, I hope the company has also improved the cooling system. Because there is no point having impressive specifications if the camera overheats after a short recording session. Battery life could also be getting an upgrade. According to the latest information, DJI's Next 360 camera may feature a battery with a capacity of more than 2,100 mAh. That would represent an increase over the previous generation. A larger battery won't completely transform the camera, but even a modest improvement can be useful when you're traveling, hiking, or filming outdoors for extended periods. Every extra minute matters when you're away from a charger. The leaked images may also reveal changes to the camera's controls. The physical buttons located below the display on the current model appear to be missing or redesigned. This could suggest that DJI is moving more controls onto the touchscreen. That would create a cleaner appearance and potentially give DJI more flexibility with the user interface. But there is also a downside. Physical buttons can be incredibly useful when you're outdoors, wearing gloves, or trying to change settings without looking directly at the screen. So, if DJI really is removing some of the physical controls, the touchscreen software will need to be extremely well designed, and this is where the comparison with the Insta360 X6 becomes especially interesting. Both companies appear to be improving their cameras, but they may be taking different approaches. The Insta360 X6 is reportedly getting a redesigned body, improved ergonomics, larger sensors, and higher frame rates. DJI's next Osmo 360, meanwhile, appears to be focusing on faster processing, improved battery life, higher frame rates, and potentially better lens durability. In other words, the competition is no longer simply about who can record the highest resolution. The next generation could be about which camera is easier to use every day. A camera with slightly better image quality may not necessarily be the better product if its lenses are fragile. A camera with a larger battery may not be the best option if it overheats, and a camera with incredible specifications may still lose if its software and editing workflow are frustrating. This is why the competition between DJI and Insta360 is becoming so interesting. Every time one company introduces a major feature, the other seems to have an answer. Insta360 has pushed aggressively into AI-powered editing and software features. DJI has built a reputation around stabilization, image quality, and hardware design. Now Insta360 appears to be redesigning the X series, while DJI may be preparing a more durable and faster second-generation Osmo 360. The result could be one of the most competitive periods the 360 camera market has ever seen. The biggest question now is when these cameras will actually launch. Neither DJI nor Insta360 has officially confirmed the final release dates for these next-generation products. But with the Insta360 X6 appearing in leaks and regulatory information, and DJI's Next 360 camera now reportedly appearing in leaked images, both companies seem to be moving closer to their announcements. If these launches happen within a similar timeframe, consumers could soon be choosing between two completely new flagship 360 cameras. And personally, there is one feature I hope DJI really has included. Not 8K, not 60 frames per second, not even a larger battery, replaceable lenses, because no matter how advanced a 360 camera becomes, one scratch can still ruin the entire experience. If DJI has found a practical way to make the lenses user replaceable, I think that could become one of the most important features in the entire category. It could even force Insta360 and other manufacturers to rethink how they design future 360 cameras. But for now, everything we've discussed is based on leaks and unofficial information. The final specifications, design, features, and release details could still change before DJI officially announces the product. Still, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. The next battle between DJI and Insta360 is going to be much more intense than the previous one. The Insta360 X6 appears to be preparing for a major upgrade. DJI may already be preparing its response, and if both cameras launch with the features currently being rumored, the 360 camera market could look very different by the end of this year. So now I want to know what you think. If the Insta360 X6 and DJI's next Osmo 360 launched tomorrow, which one would you choose? Would you prefer the X6's rumored larger sensors and redesigned body, or would DJI's possible 8K 60 frames per second recording and replaceable lens system be enough to win you over? And most importantly, what is the one feature that would finally convince you to upgrade to a new 360 camera?